Okay, well, it's very, like, firstly, disclaimer, it's very dangerous and hard to generalize, right? Because things change so much, and there's obviously always diversity. So all I can comment on is kind of like trends and things that I've picked up from my perspective. I'm not saying this is fact, right? But for me, I found West Africa to be, firstly, a lot more hardcore. Like, the West is survival of the fittest kind of territory. Like, you have to be quite aggressive, quite strong, quite sure of yourself, and there's a lot of energy. So like, as soon as I'm talking mostly about Nigeria now as well, as soon as and Lagos in particular, as soon as you get off the airplane, you just smell like diesel and raw energy. It's just, you can just feel that it's like the battery source, the center point for me of the continent. And a lot of people think, South Africa is the main hub. It's nothing. Like Nigeria, Lagos there's so many people, so much happening, and you have to be so on top of your game to make it. People are looking for opportunities. It's amazing. It's very inspiring. There's a patriotism that's unmatched anywhere else. There's a pride of being Nigerian. And it means that Nigerian music and youth culture has just blossomed with that kind of support and with that kind of passion supporting it. It even then filtered into a couple of years ago, the NBC, the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, actually passed a law that it's like prime time, between 6 and 10 p.m., you have to play Nigerian content. So for us as a brand that was leaning a lot on our Pimp My Ride formats and our other sort of global MTV formats, we had to rethink our whole model, and it forced us into a position that we had wanted to get into, but it forced us into that transition quicker, as in we must make Nigerian content in Nigeria by Nigerians for Nigerians. There's a lot of bling in that scene. It's very aspirational. It's very like glossy, influenced a lot by, I would say, the US hip hop scene, but it's been personalized and regionalized so beautifully that when you hear a Nigerian contemporary music track, you know exactly what it is. It's Nigerian. The language is pidgin, the beat is distinctly Nigerian, and the aesthetic, like I said, it's very glossy, very slick. So anything you do really in a creative space, if you're trying to hit the mainstream kind of mass youth audience, it's got to be nice and glossy. You head east, you land up, let me use, again, it's so difficult to sum it all up, but I'll use Nairobi then more as an example for the East. Nairobi, the circles I've been rolling in is more like a more kind of niche, quite nerdy, intellectual, kind of smart and cool kind of vibe, which is very much, again, in line with sort of global youth trends of this millennial generation who are very empowered, who very much more, self-esteemed and educated and technologically savvy. So you're seeing that happening in Kenya. So it's almost like nerdy, like the guys they look a bit nerdyish and they're more like middle class. And again, it challenges the stereotype of the hood, like Africa and the hood and poverty. And actually, the scene in Kenya, some of the popular music is, you still get the hood, but then you get this other scene that's like very middle class and very like nice and nerdy kind of well-educated kids. But that seems to be growing. That's happening in style. It's very much like a hipster kind of thing happening, the bow ties and the very bright colors and tight clothes and that kind of thing, which is the East. And then if you a bit more central southern, say in Angola is also about the cash, man. It's about the cash. And I would, like, the one thing that just struck me about Angola is just how hot the people are. It's ridiculous. And I think it's, there's a lot of stains left over from colonialism, and there's the obvious sort of negative ones, but then there's just the reality ones of how it's influenced the culture and how it still stays. So you get the French-speaking countries, the Francophone-speaking countries will be, in my perception, like more like creative and niche and very artistic, and they encourage that, and there's almost like a culture of, and I don't think it's only the French that brought that. There is in Senegal, for example, the griots, and there was this like culture of like music and the artists and the arts. So you see that now in sort of the modern scene happening now. It's a little bit more intelligent, a bit more artistic, and the Anglophone countries, you find like a more like a bigger emphasis on tertiary education and being responsible, and those kind of classical paths in life of being a doctor and a lawyer and that kind of thing. And that's more what the older generation are trying to encourage their kids to do, and that's kind of the Anglophone influence. And like I was saying with the Portuguese, the only thing if I had to sum up, I don't know, the Portuguese, whichever country they went in, they were just shagging. That seems to be what they were doing, at least, so you get like a lot of light skin, it's not it's almost like there's a mixed kind of culture happening in terms of the look of people. And then people are very confident, extremely I guess you can interpret it as like sexy, you know, it's like not ashamed to show a bit of booty, and you'll see glistening skin, and it's just, you know, it's just got that vibe about it. The dance, the music, it's very, you know, it's like dancing, you know, zouk and kizumba and all these kind of things. You'll see, you know, people dancing, like men and women dancing close to each other with the arm out, like dancing, like old school dancing, but rubbing, like, you know, whereas not like our culture where it's like you stand on that side, I stand on that side, and we do this, you know what I mean? It's like, it's very like together and touchy-feely. So that's kind of like a snapshot from my perspective. Very long, sorry.